Hey guys, we just picked up a new motor today. This is a 1999 Mercury 15 horsepower 2-stroke. It is a short shaft model. Today we're gonna work on this, see if we can get it running. We're gonna do a compression check and a spark test on it, and then do a water pump on it. Pretty clean motor. Now we're gonna do a spark and compression check. We'll do water pump impeller, do spark plugs, little runner. So we got 100 in each cylinder, so that's a pretty good reading that we want to get. It has to be within 10%, so I've seen these motors run perfectly fine with 100 pounds in each cylinder. You also got to think I wasn't holding up the throttle body, so sometimes that increases the compression in the motor too. So it's a good healthy motor. Let's go check for spark now. Alright, now all we want to look and see is if we have spark right here on the spark tester. If we have good spark, then this motor is a good healthy engine, and all we have to worry about is the fuel system. The motor has spark. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's good spark. So this is a good healthy engine. I'm also going through new spark plugs in here. BP8HS 15s is what I'm using. See all of that orange stuff that will make this engine never run. You see I was talking about? Look at all this. That's all on my finger. Never use gasket sealer. Just spend the money, get the gasket. Because look at this. Look at that. It's a mixture of fuel and gas. It will never run, guys. Especially not looking like that. That's pretty bad. So we're probably gonna scrape this off then. I'm gonna put this in the ultrasonic cleaner then. We're gonna clean this completely out. Then we'll probably put some carbon choke cleaner because all this has got to come off. So we'll get to that then once we get the rest of the assembly off. Okay guys, now that we got the carburetor back on, we changed out the spark plugs, checked the compression, we checked for spark. Now we are ready to test run the engine. So we want to hook up is a gas tank. We want to do a 50-to-1 ratio of oil to gas. So for 3 gallons, I think that's 3 ounces of oil. After that, you want to prime up the system. On these motors, once the primer ball's just starting to get firm, you don't have to prime it anymore. A lot of their motors, they'll be really hard, but for these motors, don't over prime them or else you'll push gas out of the carburetor. So now that we're ready to test run it, we want to check that the spark for the kill switch is in the up position. So this would be in the off position. This would be in the on position. After that, we want to twist in all the way in. Advances the timing. Then we want to choke it twice. At this point, we're ready to try to fire up the engine. So we're gonna do that right now. Also, you wanna make sure you're neutral. The engine won't start if you're in gear. So if you're in forward or neutral, or forward or reverse, you won't be able to pull this. Just gonna let it run for a second. See on the first pull, the motor fired right up. Water's not pumping the best, but that's okay. We're gonna do a water pump on this motor anyway, so this should be a lot more flow going on. It's actually not idling too bad. Once it warms up a little bit, we can twist it out. The RPMs will go down. If I increase it, it'll eventually start picking up in speed. As I decrease it, the motor starts to slow down. So that's at the lowest. So it's idling actually pretty good right now. So that was 1.5 turns on the idle mixture screw. Now, although it is pumping water, still want to check. Put your hand right here. Now it will get hot, but it shouldn't get insanely hot. Just see, make sure now it's starting to pump. The motor's actually not running too bad. Let me increase it a little bit. Starting to pump a lot better now. You go ahead and twist it into gear, but you have to be careful, make sure you're actually mounted down pretty good, because the motor will kick on you. You just want to throw it into gear. It's going to kick up some water. We just want to let it idle for a little bit. Now these motors, they should be idling right around 7, 8, maybe high 900s. You just want to see if the motor dies at where it's at right now. So if you're on the water, you're idling in gear. This is where a lot of motors they'll kind of die out. So even now we can decrease the This motor's actually running really good right now. At this point, if you want to, if your motor's running a little too fast or too slow, you come here, just twist in by quarter increments. It's not running. So if I go back, so really I'm at 1 1/4 right now, turns out. It's 1 1/2. You hear the engine slowing down. Getting a little too much air into it, so we're going to twist back in. You just want to wait a second. When you twist in, just wait a couple seconds. Let the engine adapt to what we just changed to it. So right now I'm still at 1 1/2. I went from 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 to 1 3/4, and I came back to 1 1/2. Now if I go back to 1 1/4, now this is 1 1/4 turns from seated position. Sounds like it's running a little bit rougher. Now this is splitting the difference between 1 1/2 and 1 1/4. Actually doesn't run too bad right there. So this you want to put it back into neutral. Do a little bit of revs. If you just pull on this throttle arm, it'll go crazy. Just see if if the motor will die on you. This motor's actually not running too bad right here. So right now I have it between 1 1/2 and 1 1/4 turns from seated position. And that screw, remember when we took the carburetor apart, this one. So right now it's one between 1 1/2 and 1 1/4. So 1 1/2 was there. That was where I'm at. And that's about where 1 1/4 was. Thinking a little bit in between the two of them. It's running pretty good. Still not pumping the best. It's actually not too terrible. Block's not being too hot. It is pumping water, but it can still overheat. So let's see if you see any gas leaks. At this point, this is when you want to start looking around the carburetor. See if there's any leaks going on. Doesn't look like it. To increase it, which then advances the timing. You can hear the engine speed up a little bit. You really only want this in all the way in when you're first starting. When you're actually out in the water, it'll come off a little bit. You know, if you came all the way out, which that's the lowest. I feel like right in between the middle. This is the throttle arm, so you can see the engine will die. That's a 2-stroke. Now for these engines, you kind of have to run them in a bucket. You can get earmuff attachments for them. They have the water pickup underneath the plate, unlike normal Mercury's where they're on the side of the lower unit. So it's just easier to run these in a bucket. You can't get the adapter, but you have to take the prop off to put it in gear then. It's just kind of a headache. Give some more. Now there is a kill switch here. Let's find out if it works. So it does. Let's see if I can do a one pull. I barely pulled that out. Something much better. Sometimes these will get clogged. You stick something, not a screwdriver, but something smaller, like a little pick or something to clean it out, and then spray it up some air. If you're running the engine, you can put a little bit of air here as it's running and just blow a very small amount of air pressure. And sometimes it'll break loose whatever dirt's in there. You can see where this hose runs. That's where the water comes out. Comes up into here. And then right here is the thermostat. So the thermostat is right there. We're going to need to replace it. And then it comes from the water pickup. Comes up. Goes to the engine. Comes to the thermostat. Thermostat opens. And then it comes out. And that's when you get the water. I just want to make sure nothing's going terrible. We'll put it in gear again. So very slight RPMs. Can't really rev them in the water in here because of the water will pick up. Like that. It's running pretty good. Let's see if the side kill switch works. So it does. Let's see if we can start it again. Just advance the timing a little bit. Once these two strokes are pretty warm, they usually, you don't have to, you know, choke and everything. It should just be like that. If you watch this video step by step, your motor will run like this. Okay, just so you guys know how hot the block should be getting. So I was saying in the video, if you put your hand here, see if it's overheating. It eventually will get hot after it's been running for a while. So you can see here a thermostat on the side of the block. Reading at 138. Front. So right around 130 degrees. So like I said, it does get hot. Like you can keep your hand on it. It doesn't burn you. But if you felt it like getting insanely hot, a lot of times if it's not pumping water, you can kind of shut it down right away and figure that out. But I can keep my hand on here. It gets hot after a while, but the thermostat. So the thermostat's going to open at 130 degrees, it looks like, roughly. So thermostat's 130, a little bit colder. Yeah, but that's something just so you guys can know when you're at home. See in the front where the spark plugs are. 130. So actually a lot cooler at the bottom. That's because I was actually on that plug. That's because that's where the water comes up. So yeah. If anybody was wondering, the shift linkage is located underneath the carburetor. If you guys want to see a video on how to do a full water pump step by step, let me know. But basically you just flip that latch up and the linkage will fall down. But first we would want to, that's a neutral right now. Go ahead and shift it into forward when you take this apart. So we're going to do the water pump next. That's the pin I was talking about. Located on the shift rod, plugs in, and then this cups over. So you gotta pull that out to drop the shift linkage. Alright guys, just got the gear case out. Now we're going to change out the impeller. So let's do that now. That's what a water pump looks like. See the fins bend back.
see what an old impeller looks like, and then what a new impeller looks like. This one actually hasn't been used too bad. Check the housing. See if there's any scratches. This one feels okay. This must be new. And also you want to look at your faceplate. This one's not too bad. You got your Woodruff. This is your Woodruff key. It's what holds the impeller in place. There's a slot cut out in the impeller. See a little slot cut out. That slides onto the shaft. Okay guys, we just got the water pump all done now. So now we're going to test run the motor again and see if it pumps a lot better now. Alright guys, now that we just changed the water pump, we're going to rerun her. If she pumps fine, then we're done with this motor. All we'll have to do then is detail it and then redo the cowling, just to make it look a little bit nicer. But right now we're just going to fire it up, see if it shifts and see if it idles good. If not, we'll adjust it a little bit and see how well she pumps now. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Motor fired right up, first pull. It's pumping much better now. A lot stronger flow. Now these motors don't pump as strong as other outboards, but if you see this, then you're pretty good. That's pretty solid. If we bring up the RPMs, it should increase a little bit. So yeah, this motor's been idling for probably about 10 minutes now, guys. And still hasn't shut off at all. I put it in gear and out of gear multiple times. So now we can definitely say this is a done motor. Okay guys, so I just got done detailing it. Came out pretty good. Looks a lot better than what it did before. See the power head. It's pretty clean. Okay guys, that's gonna wrap up the video today. So we got this 15 horsepower Mercury to run. It runs great, it looks great. If you guys want to see more engines, please like and comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And as always, thank you guys for watching the video.